Hello and welcome back to Scouching. With the NHL season in full swing, one of the most exciting times of the year for me is watching rookies as they start their NHL careers. So I thought it might be prudent to explore how a specific player is translating into the National Hockey League, and today's subject is going to be Winnipeg Jets defenseman Ville Heinola. Heinola is a player that I had ranked higher than most people at 17, and he went at 20 to the Jets, so I'm pretty happy with the fact that the Jets picked him up at their pick. I will say that on a talent alone basis, I am surprised that he did manage to crack the Winnipeg Jets roster. I think a lot of that had to do with the quality of defensemen on the team, with a number of notable departures like Jacob Trouba and whatever's happening with Dustin Byfuglien. So I'm thinking this is a bit of a temporary solution until someone like Byfuglien comes back, if he ever does. The game that I watched was on October 3rd, where they played the New York Rangers, featuring another highly drafted player from 2019, Kaapo Kakko. Now let me start with a disclaimer. I am not trying to say with these videos that the player in question is good or bad or ready for the NHL or not. It's one game, and this is really more about profiling how the player plays the game at the NHL level as they try to get their feet set in a very, very fast and very, very tough league. And in Ville Heinola's case, his intelligence was never in question throughout last season, and it has seemed to translate to the NHL pretty well. But I'm not quite sure he's quite ready for the type of minutes that he's been playing with the Jets just yet. And to show what I'm trying to get at, let's jump right in. So the first play that really jumps out at me is about halfway through the first period in the Jets-Rangers game, and it's the first showcase of Ville Heinola's ability to play with some level of calculated risk. Adam Fox tries to send a stretch pass into the neutral zone to hit the forward that's forechecking the hardest. Under normal circumstances, you might see a defenseman pinch a little closer to their own blue line and play a little bit more conservatively, but you see Heinola jump right into the neutral zone and cut off the pass, getting it to a teammate so that they can turn the puck back the other way. The Winnipeg Jets defense as a whole seemed to play a little bit aggressively, but he does seem to know when and when not to take these risks. Later on in the same shift, the puck is hemmed in deep in the New York Rangers zone, and when it squeaks out to the boards, Ville Heinola is right there, nice and tight to the boards to prevent that puck from dribbling outside the offensive zone. The problem is that bearing down on him pretty quickly is New York Rangers hyper rookie Kaapo Kakko. With his stick out wide to one side, he's totally ready to just slap that puck right off of Ville Heinola if there's a little bit of a bobble, which unfortunately there is. You can't fault Heinola for bobbling a puck that he did catch with his body when it was nice and tight against the boards like that, but what I really like about this play is that Heinola doesn't give up. He exits the zone and keeps applying pressure on Kaapo Kakko and really tries to make life as hard as possible for him, and it does pay off. Just by applying that pressure on Kakko, Kakko seems to panic a little bit and throw the puck out into the neutral zone, hoping a forward is there to get the puck. Unfortunately, there isn't one, and Neil Pionk just fetches the puck and takes it for a ride into the offensive zone. Had Patrik Laine stood on his feet here, there might have been a nice outlet pass, but luckily Pionk's mobility is pretty good, and he's able to carry the puck into the offensive zone on his own. Moving forward a bit, this is something that I think Heinola really will need to work on if he wants to be a really solid top 4 defenseman in the National Hockey League that can eat a lot of minutes. People ask me the same question a lot, which is, what do you think the hardest thing is to translate to the National Hockey League? And my answer usually trends around something like the pace of play is really, really fast. Plays happen really quick, the players skate really quickly, but it's more about the amount of events that happen per second, in the neutral zone especially, that can really get you on your heels, which is really where you don't want to be, especially for a defenseman. It's a pretty basic breakout play here for the New York Rangers, where there's 2 wingers with a trailing center, and both defensemen are in good position to counter that breakout. The problem starts a little bit when Heinola opens his feet a little bit too wide and loses a lot of speed trying to rotate to his left side. Kaapo Kakko here is breaking in with a lot of speed. Heinola keeps skating a little bit too awkwardly, not really generating a lot of speed and not looking like he's very comfortable on his feet, trying to keep up with Kakko as he cuts to the outside. And with Heinola's stick out to the right side, there isn't too much of a threat of him really stripping Kaapo Kakko of the puck. And Kakko must know that if he moves the puck to Heinola's left side, where there is no stick, all he has to do is miss his skate and there could be a pass into a pretty dangerous area of the offensive zone, which is exactly what he does. Now luckily for the Jets, Tony DeAngelo is the player that enters the zone here, and he makes a bit of a panicky pass, moving it through dangerous areas when there is really no one in that area. If anything, DeAngelo probably should have cycled this puck around the back of the net and looked for Kaapo Kakko again on the other side, but at the end of the day, the Winnipeg Jets and Ville Heinola dodge a little bit of a bullet here. So this is the first example for Heinola of a bit of a pattern in this game, where Heinola Heinola's transitional skating ability, especially skating backwards, looks a little bit awkward, especially against players who really can skate up the ice, and there are no shortage of those in the National Hockey League. This kind of breakout speed is extremely common in the National Hockey League, so moving forward for Heinola, something he might want to keep working on is just his overall mobility while skating backwards, keeping that gap control tight, and making sure that every ounce of ice that a player like Kaapo Kakko earns has to be earned. Another play that kind of showcased something where I think Heinola might have a little bit of trouble playing against top NHL competition. Now, I'm not going to fault a player like Ville Heinola at 18 years old for not having the foot speed of a top 6 NHL forward, but he does really get burned here by two solid Ranger forwards here in Mika Zibanejad and then Pavel Buchnevich, twice in the same shift. He gets beat on the outside by Zibanejad, who really is a hard player to counter. He's a smart offensive forward, and it's really hard to keep track of what he might be able to do. He's really shifty, really sneaky, and he just beats Heinola here for a scoring chance really tight into the net. Then almost immediately afterwards, Patrik Laine hands the puck back over to Jacob Trouba, who is a very smart defenseman, and he just kind of throws it back into the neutral zone, spotting that there is a wide open Pavel Buchnevich here. And when you combine that with the two other forwards who are already at the blue line, this is a good chance for the Rangers to get another chance on net. Heinola's lack of foot speed and mobility from the right side of the ice to the left also causes him to miss this dump in from Trouba, and with Buchnevich's speed, he just goes right by him and gets the puck back for the Rangers. With Connor Hellebuyck and Kyle Connor doing most of the legwork after this, the puck does end up broken out of the Winnipeg Jets zone. But it's another example of where Heinola's foot speed and mobility might be a bit of a shortcoming for him this early in his career. It's really important to create a defensive scenario where it's easy for you to create a breakout to get out of your own zone. And I think it's really tough, especially when you have young defensemen, when your wingers don't really press up against the boards. So this one might be a bit more systematic than really on Heinola, and he does salvage himself a little bit later in this play. But Chris Kreider dumps the puck in, and there are now 3 Jets players with their momentum carrying them towards the corners. None of these players are really positioning themselves for a real breakout opportunity, and when Heinola retrieves the puck, he doesn't really have a ton of options here. He can't really cycle the puck behind the net to Neil Pionk because Chris Kreider's kind of anticipating that play, and Mason Appleton and Mark Letestu aren't really giving him a lot of options to move the puck. Heinola showcases a bit of a lack of strength here, which is perfectly fine for an 18-year-old defenseman, as he puts a bit of a weak pass against the boards and there's no one really close to the puck to get it. With Jack Roslovic just coming off the bench, maybe he could have supported the team along the boards a little bit instead of coasting over to the right wing. So it's an easy retrieval for the New York Rangers to keep the puck in their own zone, but what I really like about this play from Heinola is that he sticks to Kaapo Kakko once again and really tries to do what he can to break up that offensive cycle the Rangers are trying to get started here. He manages to strip Kakko of the puck, but the guy picking up the puck is Mark Letestu, and he does the same thing that Ville Heinola did and just kind of puts a lazy pass off the boards and the Rangers managed to keep the puck in. But I do really like the instincts and the intelligence and the tenacity that Ville Heinola has shown in this game so far, for sure. As the first period wound down, the puck was hemmed in the Winnipeg Jets zone, and I think this is a little play that I think you could work out relatively easily with Heinola over the next little while. He kind of strays away from the front of the net a little bit too much for my own liking. The issue is kind of right here, where Chris Kreider has enough space behind the net and in front of the net to not only wrap around, but also maybe take a little bit of time to take his shot to see if Connor Hellebuyck will bite on something. Ville Heinola is not really in a good position to prevent Kreider from that wraparound chance, and luckily the puck doesn't get to Kreider here, and I do kind of see what Heinola is trying to do. It appears as though he's trying to block this passing lane from the corner to the point, but they already have Mason Appleton a little higher in the zone who can also probably jump in and cut that pass off if it's a little bit errant. And Heinola is leaving a little bit too much open ice in front here. Eventually Heinola does pick up Kreider as he goes to the front of the net to try to screen Hellebuyck, but the shot is already on its way, and Kreider does gain both a physical and positional advantage on Heinola to get an easy tip in here, and if this rebound had come out to the left side of Connor Hellebuyck, Kreider does have the advantage to get that rebound and get a nice dirty goal on the rebound. Now this play led to the tying goal for the Winnipeg Jets, so yes, there was a goal on this play. Heinola got himself a secondary assist. That's great, but this is the type of pass that could cause a lot of issues if it doesn't go your way, especially with the player involved on the other team. Heinola's behind the net and just takes a split second to make his passing decision. He really only has one option here, which is move the puck to Nikolai Ehlers, but the issue is how he tries to get the puck to Ehlers. He's got Ryan Strome bearing down on him a bit in the left side of the net, but Kaapo Kakko likely bearing down on him on the right side of the net, and he's got to make a decision. Ehlers is probably the right decision, and that's what he does. The issue is that he throws the pass not along the boards, but really along the ice to Nikolai Ehlers, and basically throws it between Kakko's feet, and it's just an unnecessarily risky pass to make. He could have wrapped it around the boards to Nick Ehlers here, but Ehlers does take it up the ice and create a goal from this. So I can't really fault Heinola too much for this, but he threw it right through a really dynamic offensive player's feet. And if it doesn't go his way, that does not make him look particularly great in one of his first NHL games. This could have very easily been a goal against had it not gone through Kaapo Kakko's feet. There was another aggressive pinch by Heinola that worked out in his favor. And again, this is a great example of structural stability for your team and having forwards aware of covering for defensemen, especially ones like Heinola who can pinch up pretty high. He needs to be covered for in order to prevent potential breakouts in the opposite direction. A 2-on-1 coming your way is never a good thing, and luckily Nikolai Ehlers does a really good job covering for Heinola. Heinola's mobility is pretty good in the forward direction here as he reads that there is a puck coming along the boards, and he gets a jump on the Ranger winger Kaapo Kakko once again to try to keep possession in the offensive zone. This is a really nice instinct to see, and if there is a bit of a grind along the boards, he does have an option such as Nick Ehlers at the blue line to move the puck back to defuse that pressure and get set offensively again. Reading that there is empty space behind the net as well, though, Mark Scheifele wraps around the back of the net, allowing Heinola to move the puck to him and creating an offensive chance. And almost immediately after that, Heinola puts himself in the exact same position, and the exact same player comes and covers for him at the blue line. This time around, though, Heinola does get the puck back relatively easily and moves the puck back to Ehlers at the blue line to sustain offensive pressure. This is another example of this risky but stable offensive hockey that I really like to see out of a mature defenseman like Heinola. And it's a relatively simple idea to have your wingers covering for your defensemen in the offensive zone if they jump in, but it's really nice to see him, instead of taking a whack at the puck to try to get it below the goal line, he simply just moves it to the blue line to try to keep the offensive pressure on. On the next play, Heinola gloves down a dumping attempt, which is really solid on its own. He's positioned in a nice spot to glove that puck down, and he does take a little bit of time to wait for the right option to present itself, but he doesn't really seem to read that his defense partner is right there as well, and he just ends up handing the puck over to Ryan Strome in a relatively easy to avoid turnover. Ideally, there should either be a chip past the boards right away to get the puck back to Mark Scheifele at the offensive blue line, or Heinola should move that puck back to his partner on the right side of the ice when Kaapo Kakko goes by him, so that they can at least maintain offensive pressure, because the pass that he makes here is easily cut off by Ryan Strome, and the offense that he could have generated is just over. The next play I want to highlight, Heinola is in a bit of a battle with Brendan Lemieux, who ends up throwing into the ice, but what I really like about Heinola's play on this is that he doesn't have the natural instinct just to go to the front of the net and stand there. He reads pretty quickly that going to the front of the net might not be the best option to totally defuse the offensive pressure there is, as Pionk is going behind the goal line, and there is likely going to be a pass or a chip that tries to get past the forecheckers so that Heinola can pick up the puck and move it in the offensive zone. He moves back behind the goal line, ready to pick up that puck and keep the outlet pass. And he does have Jack Roslovic ready right there for the pass to start a breakout. Unfortunately, the pass he sends to Roslovic isn't great, and he ends up handing the puck back over to the Rangers, who get a shot on net. But it is a really nice instinct that he's able to read the play like that and get behind the goal line, especially at the speed at which this game is being played, and be ready for the chance to defuse the offensive pressure. As the second period drew to a close, once again we see Ville Heinola just straight up being beat in a foot race by Chris Kreider. Stuff like this likely will happen in multiple games, and yes, Chris Kreider did get a few strides on him, but the fact that he lost this foot race by quite a wide margin leads me to believe that he might not have the foot speed just yet to be a full-time top 4 NHL defenseman. But I will say that it is really hard to catch up to Chris Kreider. He is one of the faster skaters in the league, so maybe A-Bing him with Ville Heinola is not particularly fair, but he was line matched up against some pretty fast NHL skaters, and he probably will be over the course of the full season if the Jets are this shorthanded on defense. So he will need to at least get a few more steps, because opportunities like this can't be happening all night. On a more positive note, one thing I really liked about Ville Heinola's game last year was that his offensive game was quite shifty and hard to predict. He was a pretty good passer moving the puck around the offensive zone, but it was more about his unpredictability, and he showcases it really nicely here on this play. Taking a pass from Mark Letestu, he walks the blue line pretty well, but while doing so, he doesn't do it just skating backwards. He does it while constantly shifting his body weight around. He's doing that 10-2 skating that everyone seems to love so much these days. But what I like about that skating style in this situation is it makes it a little bit tougher for the New York Rangers to read exactly what he's going to do. Now, when you look at the offensive setup the Jets are in right here, he has very few, if any, options for making an offensive play right here, and the New York Rangers really have a lot of leeway to play, because really the only option he has is to just put one on net and hopefully there's a rebound that someone can clean up. But he waits it out and waits it out and waits it out and sends a shot on net into a dangerous area, and at this point, who knows what could possibly happen. That's kind of part of the charm of the sport. Sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen. So if Heinola can maintain this patience and shiftiness while walking a blue line, I think he could be an interesting power play player one day, and at the very least, at even strength, he should be able to keep defenses on their toes a little bit better than some defensemen out there. The next play is classic NHL defending when you're away from the puck. This is the type of stuff you need to see out of your defenseman when the puck is not really anywhere near them. Neil Pionk does a pretty good job to close the gap on Brendan Smith as he enters the zone here, and Elias Anderson is the one who's really going to break towards the net. Ville Heinola reads that Anderson is the other guy heading towards the net, and he also probably can tell that Anderson is going to gain a positional advantage on the winger there in the Winnipeg Jets jersey, who really doesn't do much to stop Anderson from entering the zone. Not that there's much that he can do. Heinola is constantly aware of where Elias Anderson is and is ready and willing to prevent Anderson from getting to that higher danger area to clean up a rebound or get an easy tap in on the other side of Connor Hellebuyck. It's really nice to see Heinola very, very aware of this threat. Heinola also uses his positioning to kind of force Anderson to not just stand in front of the net and push him more into the corner so that it diffuses a little bit of pressure in front of the net for Hellebuyck to see a potential shot a lot clearer. Here's a situation where multiple camera angles would probably have helped a little bit, but Heinola is caught way too far to the right side of the ice, and Artemi Panarin clearly sees that. Panarin moves the puck out wide to Mika Zibanejad, who has all the time and space in the world to cut into that empty area that Heinola left wide open. This is the second time that I saw Mika Zibanejad gain a major positional advantage. One was Heinola's overall mobility, maybe being a step behind where it could be, and this one Heinola was just caught way out of position, way too close to his partner Neil Pionk, and it was a chance against right after a goal was scored for the Rangers. Heinola does follow Zibanejad around the back of the net to keep on him and keep applying pressure, and he does end up getting the puck back, which is really nice to see. But the problem is you have one of the best wingers in the game chasing the puck behind you as well, in Artemi Panarin. It doesn't really take much for Panarin to sneak up behind Heinola and very easily just loosen the puck right off him and get the puck back to Zibanejad so they can continue applying offensive pressure. The last thing you might want to note about this play is that as that shot comes in from Trouba at the blue line, Heinola is not in a good position at all to prevent Pavel Buchnevich from capitalizing on any kind of rebound in front of the net. Pionk is guarding Panarin, and Heinola is more in the spot where the center should be in this situation, and no one is covering him back-checking. Luckily, Hellebuyck froze this puck and the play ended, but that one could have been another goal against for the Rangers to take the lead in this game. As the game wound to a close, it was really interesting to see the Jets still putting Heinola out there so much with so little time left in a tie game. But it is really promising to see his natural instinct as soon as he hits the ice to do what he does on this play. Brett Howden is a very big player who can skate pretty well for his size. Heinola positions himself relatively okay to Brett Howden here on this zone entry, but what's really nice is that he gains a physical advantage putting his body directly in between Hellebuyck and Howden. Howden is puck watching, and while Heinola does have his eyes on the puck, he's positioned himself in front of Brett Howden physically to make life very, very difficult for Howden to get to the net. Had Howden maybe cut to the left a little bit, he might have been able to get to this net and tip the puck past Hellebuyck, but Heinola did a really, really good job here cutting off Brett Howden from accessing the front of the net and becoming any sort of an offensive threat. However, the ensuing face-off after that puck was frozen, things didn't go so great for Heinola here or his center on his line, Adam Lowry. You've got Brett Howden and Brendan Lemieux going straight to the front of the net, and those are two big players that can be dangerous in tight. While Heinola starts the play tying up Brett Howden with Adam Lowry, I'm assuming he thinks Adam Lowry is going to cover for him, so he pinches up pretty deep on the forechecking winger here, Jesper Fast. There are a ton of bodies between Fast and Hellebuyck probably can't even see this puck. It hits him, but Howden has a positional advantage here standing behind Adam Lowry, and Adam Lowry just does not do enough to tie him up. Heinola was in a much better physical position, and if anything, Heinola should have hung back and tried to tie up Brett Howden like he did on the previous play, and Adam Lowry be the one to go out and challenge Jesper Fast. Howden has the physical advantage on Lowry. Lowry doesn't do enough, and Howden has the easy tap in to put the Rangers up 5-4 with 4 minutes left in the game. I see why Heinola went after Jesper Fast on this play, but I can't help but think that Adam Lowry should have been the one to do it, while Heinola hung back and tied up Brett Howden in the physical position that he was in. And the last play I want to go over was Heinola's last even strength shift of the game here. Artemi Panarin chips the puck out of the defensive zone, and Pavel Buchnevich is bearing down pretty hard on Ville Heinola here to go fetch that puck. With Heinola being a right-hand shot on the left side of the the ice, you really need a lot of strength to put any kind of mustard behind a play like what he's about to try to make. Buchnevich does end up beating him to this puck and kind of tries to chip the puck past him. The ensuing puck battle is a really nice flash of strength from Heinola that I think is really promising moving forward. Even if Heinola loses the puck like he did in this scenario, he does stay very tenacious and tight to the forechecker to prevent that breakout from continuing. He makes it extremely hard for Pavel Buchnevich to get anywhere past him, and he bides enough time such that Jack Roslovic can come help and bail him out. Now the issue though is that Roslovic kind of lazily moves the puck along the boards and it gets right back to Buchnevich. Heinola is already trying to think about getting back in proper defensive positioning here, especially with Mika Zibanejad streaking towards the net and Jack Roslovic kind of puck watching. Heinola does get into the front of the net and keeps his eye on Buchnevich on that backdoor pass, which is really smart as well. And this whole shift, he has stayed extremely tight to Pavel Buchnevich. It seems like that is his man on this shift, and he stays very tight to him. No matter which way Buchnevich is cutting and moving, Heinola keeps up with him and keeps applying that pressure and gets Buchnevich in a pretty advantageous spot here. Buchnevich's body is facing almost directly at the boards. Heinola's momentum is carrying him already towards Buchnevich in the corner, and while Buchnevich has Panarin behind the net, he holds onto the puck, makes a third cut, and Heinola strikes and separates him from the puck. So all in all, his natural defensive instincts are pretty promising. That's another example from this game that I really liked in terms of how mature his game is and how he makes it relatively easy to keep up with certain players in the National Hockey League already. So in these videos, there aren't going to be any ratings or predictions. It's more for yours and my benefit to see how these young players are in their first few National Hockey League games, just to see what the differences are based on how they've played before and how their game is translating to the National Hockey League. Ville Heinola is really being thrown into the deep end here based on some of the players that he's playing against, and most of the game he did not look out of place. And I did track a number of metrics that I usually track when I look at individual players. What's really promising for Heinola is that over the course of this whole game, whenever pucks were crossing the blue line, whether it's the offensive or defensive one, and he was involved in that transition, it was only done with control against him 33% of the time. So anytime the Rangers crossed their own blue line or Winnipeg's blue line with possession of the puck, they lost possession of the puck 66% of the time. That's really promising for a young defenseman, especially in one of their first National Hockey League games. He's an aggressive player who can pinch and cut off breakouts and end them before they begin. There's strength and mobility concerns for sure, and there are some passing decisions that I think could really be a negative if they had gone slightly differently, but generally I think there's an interesting, smart two-way defenseman here in Ville Heinola. He could walk a blue line really interestingly, although he wasn't the most offensively active in this game, and he did show a nice instinct on those little tiny passes in the defensive zone to get the breakouts started. So I wouldn't be particularly surprised if Dustin Byfuglien does come back to the Winnipeg Jets, that Ville Heinola maybe gets sent back to Finland or gets sent to the Manitoba Moose of the American Hockey League to really play top pair minutes. But I would also say that he didn't look particularly out of place in the National Hockey League. I think there's a lot more upside to his game, especially if he could get another step in terms of his speed and his mobility, and especially if he can gain a lot of strength on his frame. But for an 18-year-old in his first couple of National Hockey League games, I think the Winnipeg Jets fans should be pretty excited about the player they've got here. So that's all. If you really liked this new format of video that we'll be doing between now and February, if you have any comments on what else you might want to see, please also let me know. If you liked the video, click all the buttons you see below me so you never miss another one. If you really liked it, you could support us on Patreon, where you have access to spreadsheets, early access to videos, credits in the videos, and plenty of other goodies. So thanks for watching, and in the next one we're going to be looking at Vegas Golden Knights center Cody Glass.